Okay, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining tonight's webinar. Topic that I'm really, really excited about and very passionate about. It's rare when, how do I say this? It's rare um, when there's such an opportunity that is so overlooked, and for many people, they've been wrapping up their tax return, and everyone's talking about retirement annuities and Section 18As for donations, and an opportunity that's most overlooked. And I would say the first place to really look, because whilst retirement annuities and uh, donations are amazing, but not everyone has the luxury of getting tax back for that. So, medical is one of the spaces where most people do have the luxury of being able to claim. It's common for many South Africans to have a medical aid, and SARS actually offers significant refunds when it comes to medical rebates, both both for families that aren't navigating medical conditions and for families navigating medical conditions such as learning difficulty. And yeah, we're going to go into both those examples, just standard medical rebates, and then how medical conditions can completely influence that rebate to a much higher number. And I look forward to sharing my knowledge with you. If there's anything that comes to mind that you would like to ask, please drop it in the chat, and I'll be sure to attend to it at the end. Just a little bit about Stratfin. Stratfin was founded by Ilan Rabinowitz. He's got about 20 years tax experience, and we work on what we like to call irregular tax, the opportunities that are overlooked, both for company tax, for individual tax, and as well as different things that can be done in payroll, which are often not utilized. So I'm going to go straight into the topic that we're most busy with at the office. We're currently helping about 100 families, new families every month. And yeah, definitely the biggest opportunity to look at and explore. So how it works. I'm going to go into a little bit of theory, and if you lose me in the theory, not to worry. Take homes will be very clear, and I'm also going to go into just how regular medical rebates do work, both because it's important to know that. There's often missed opportunities, which I'm going to highlight three of them in general medical rebates. And then when it comes to medical conditions, what SARS called disability rebate, the completely changes the game. And the better you understand how normal rebates work, the better you'll understand how disability, and I use the word disability very loosely, because commonly when we think of disability, we think of the two parkings which we wish we could have gotten at Santon City, which you need to be in a wheelchair and it says disabled parking. And so that's kind of our association with disability. And what we're going to find out tonight is that so many more examples fit into disability. Disability physical is only one out of six categories that SARS give when it comes to disability, and then on what is recognized and how severe does one need to be affected by a medical condition, that we're also going to go into. But that's also a big misconception. Even if someone is affected moderately, SARS are very clear that does qualify for the additional medical rebates. But before we go into that, let's just talk about medical rebates in general. What SARS offers South African taxpayers? A South African taxpayer who's been paying tax over a financial year, so say let's talk about this financial year. Most of us are wrapping up 2026 financial year, and we how that works is between March 2025 and February 2026, you've been paying a certain amount of tax every single month. You've got your gross salary, and your net pay is significantly lower. In some cases, it's 10%, 20%, 30%, and some people even 45% lower than their gross salary. That money has all gone to tax. SARS at the end of the tax year offer an opportunity to claim some of that back. And one of the opportunities is the medical rebate. And what SARS says as follows: that in in the in the event that there's a family with a medical aid, for every member of the family that's on a medical aid, SARS will give you back a flat amount. That's your Section 6A. They give you roughly 300 Rand per member that's on the medical aid. So to make that practical, if you have a family of four, mom, dad, two children, that's 300 Rand times four, that's 1,200 Rand, times 12 months of the year, comes to 14,400 Rand, which one would get back in the medical rebates standard. That number does not vary. Your Section 6B is where it gets really complicated. And why it gets so complicated is because there's there's a lot that goes into that formula of what SARS will give you back. Number one, the first thing they look at is how much are you earning. The more you earn, the less they'll give you back. It's basically like a sliding scale. The more you earn, the less you'll get back percentage-wise in your Section 6B. Then they say, okay, how much are you spending on your Medicaid contribution? How much are your out-of-pocket expenses? And how much are the other medical expenses that you are showing them that you've spent, which they're going to give you a percentage of that back. And that number normally comes to, say, 10% of your full medical spend. So take, let's say, the same family. To keep numbers round, you have a family that's got four kids and they are on a medical aid paying 10,000 Rand a month. So that's 120,000 Rand for the month and maybe another 2,000 Rand out of pocket expenses. That family has now spent 144,000 Rand on their medical expenses. They'll get back another 14,000 Rand, which again is excellent. But as mentioned, if you're a very high earner, you'll get back nothing in your Section 6B. And if you're too much of a if you pay too little tax, you can obviously never get back more than you've paid. And then the caps are also at lower earners. So there's kind of the sweet spot with like the 30, 40, 50,000 Rand earners. That's like the sweet spot where you'll probably maximize in your Section 6B. Now, the next thing that happens is as follows. Because they are looking at how much you've spent, this is the first take home of tonight's webinar. It is so important to always keep a full logbook of all your medical spend. That's all your over-the-counter medication, all your medical professional visits, whether it's a psychologist, occupational therapist, a speech therapist, or any sort of medical condition, even homeopathic medication. It is so important to always keep tally of all of those expenses. Because as we mentioned, you're getting a percentage of that back. Now, whilst that percentage isn't a massive amount, any amount that you can get back is a great opportunity, and you should make sure to always keep that proof of medical spend. The easiest way to keep proof of that medical spend is through submitting everything to the medical aid. And that's even if you know your medical aid will never pay. For example, in my family, we're spending over 10,000 Rand for a hospital plan. They don't cover almost anything. And I always tell my wife, submit everything to the medical aid. Yes, they'll decline it, but at least then it's on the medical aid tax certificate. And the medical aid is serving as my personal logbook for medical spend. That's the way I frame it. It's a logbook that your medical aid, you're not getting that much back from them, so at least they're keeping a good logbook for you. And now they have all of those records on what's called a medical aid tax certificate, and they submit that to SARS for you at the end of the financial year, and you'll get a percentage of that back. So that's the first take home. Second take home is if you are paying for anyone's medical bills that's not on your medical aid plan, or you're paying for someone's medical aid, for example, a parent or anyone else's medical aid, you can claim back on that as well. So super important to prove that to SARS. And number three, very important, if you're not a taxpayer and you're paying for the medical aid, you won't get anything back in your medical credits. And I've seen many families where one of the spouses is a taxpayer, the other spouse is not a taxpayer. For example, a home mom who's busy with the kids and many other things, and they're not a taxpayer. And because they are home mom, they're also now the main member of the medical aid because they're taking care of the admin. And sometimes it'll come off their account. That family has lost out tens of thousands of rands in their medical aid rebates just because they didn't put the taxpayer as the person paying for the medical aid and preferably also the main member of the medical aid so that that information can be submitted to SARS directly without any confusion. Because in the event that the mom is the main member of the medical aid and the dad's the one paying for it, whilst the dad is the one who's eligible for the rebate, SARS that won't connect those dots automatically. You'll have to prove that to SARS with an affidavit and a proof of transactions and a couple other things. So that's very important that you should always ideally have the main member of the medical aid being the taxpayer as well. Okay, so that's just regular medical rebates, which is a little bit complicated and not so exciting. And we're about to get to the very exciting part. There's in the Income Tax Act, when it comes to medical rebates, there's a laws around what SARS called disability tax, and that fits under the Section 6B of the Income Tax Act. And what SARS say is that in the event that there's a person in the family, and even one person in the family can unlock all of the benefits, that's navigating a moderate to severe medical condition. And I put an emphasis on the word moderate because moderate does not mean mild. If it's just a mild story and you pop a pill and you're fine, that won't qualify. But also moderate does not need to be severe. Moderate is is as it says it. It's not severe, but it's also not mild, and it needs to be impacting a person in their day-to-day life, whether socially, academically, or in the workplace. It doesn't matter how old the person in the family is that's struggling with a medical condition. If one is struggling moderately to severely in socially, academically, or in the workspace, they are eligible for Section 6B disability tax. And I'm going to go into all the examples, even though I know tonight's topic is learning difficulty, which will fall right under intellectual. I'm going to go into all the examples just because, you know, this is this knowledge is so powerful, and you can help a cousin, you can help a family friend, and just knowing that there is this opportunity can really change the game for a family trying to give their loved ones the best shot at medical help. So intellectual, that's going to be learning difficulty. ADHD can fall under intellectual, and anytime where there's a barrier to learning or understanding, that will fall under intellectual. Vision, if one is visually impaired, and this needs to be significant, meaning that if you can rectify it with a pair of glasses, that's not called a vision impairment. Communication, there that would fall that examples will be apraxia, um, even a severe lisp affecting a person in their ability to communicate, or someone struggling with word retrieval on a severe level. Anytime a person is limited in their communication, that is a qualifying medical condition. Physical, here you have it's very broad. Any limitation in your physical health, and SARS even go as far as to say even if one does not need assistive devices, but can't walk long distances, that would fall under physical. Including that is sleep apnea, cancer, um, certain cases of diabetes, and that's a bit of a controversial one because sometimes SARS do accept, sometimes they don't. Mental, yeah, that would all fall under physical, and there's many other examples which I haven't elaborated on. Mental health, yeah, you have your anxiety, depression, bipolar, the many things that can fall under mental health. Once again, it needs to be moderate to severe impact in your day-to-day life. And lastly, hearing loss. Any person in need of a hearing aid is considered for SARS disabled. And the point of here that I'm making is you can have a CEO of the most successful company in South Africa with hundreds of employees underneath him. If he's got a hearing aid, SARS will view him as disabled. And that really says it all that disability doesn't mean bedridden, doesn't mean someone who's in a wheelchair. It means someone who's moderately to severely impacted in their day-to-day life in one of these six categories. Okay, now that we've understood what SARS recognizes as disability, the following magic happens. Number one, you get back not a small percentage of your medical aid contribution, you get back 33% of your full medical aid contribution, irrespective of how much you earn. Meaning, previously we mentioned that high earners get less of a rebate. When there's a medical condition in the family, you get a full 33% back. Doesn't matter how much you earn, you'll get 33% of that back. Number two, your out of pocket expenses. So anything that Medicaid do not cover, and you've got proof of those of that medical spend, whether it's on your medical tax certificate or you've got a schedule of those payments with the bank statements or a statement from the provider, you'll get 33% of that back. The next piece of magic, school fees, and similarly learning facilities, extra lessons can also fall under this. Scribes, facilitators, anything that now is commonly an educational expense, because the additional because of the additional spend for sending your kid to the best remedial school, for sending your kid for extra lessons, etc., is linked to the medical condition. SARS will now view that as a medical spend, and you'll get back 33% of that. And this really changes the game when you want to send your kid for extra lessons, and or you need to get them a facilitator or whatever other expense that you have, and you know you can get back 33% of that. That really changes the game when making that financial decision whether it is an affordable whether it is an affordable expense or non-affordable expense for your family. Another example would be travel. If travel to the school is significant or to the extra lessons is significant, when I say significant, it needs to be more than 10 kilometers from your home. SARS will also acknowledge that as a medical spend, and you'll be able to get 33% of that back. Now, how do we actually go about getting these funds back? This is where I saw there was so much confusion and a massive um, admin burden on families, and people in general aren't great at admin, and even those which are brilliant admin superstars in their workspace, comes to personal admin, I'm talking from experience, it's a disaster. Personal admin is something which is mostly neglected in amongst families, and also the know-how of how to go about claiming this from SARS is something which there's a lot of confusion around, and a lot of detail, and it can really be quite a process. So what we've done at Stratfin is we've put together a team who's mandated to handhold, assist, and help families claim back these uh, additional money that's been left on the table. And the first thing that we do is we always see if we can do a backdated claim. Because say we have a family that comes forward with autism and their child just joined the school in grade one or what have you, and they now want to see if they can get back money for the school fees. Little do they know they can also claim back money for the medical aid. Autism isn't something that started in January 2026. Autism is something a person is born with, which means we'll be able to go back, in most cases, 3 years, sometimes even more, and claim back all that money that's been spent on the medical aid, 33% of the medical aid. Number two, we have a very holistic approach. So we look at the family and we say, okay, how much are we spending on, is mom spending, how much is dad spending, how much is mom earning, how much is dad earning, and where do we do the claim where we'll get the most favorable outcome? And we've had situations where families, just because the setup wasn't done right, left behind tens and tens of thousands of rands. And what we managed to do is reverse what happened in the one spouse's name and put it in the other spouse's name. And this is something that we really pride ourselves in being experts in, knowing where we can get the best outcome and being able to do that open heart surgery in the taxes and say, here's where you did get the refund, but you could have gotten a bigger refund. Let's rather claim the refund in this person's name. And then from there, dealing with the correspondence with SARS back and forward, SARS will always query something, especially if it's not done right the first time. And even when it is done right, they are always there to see, to really question and really push back. And because we know exactly what they're looking for, we do our best to compile everything the first time right. And then we know exactly what to expect and exactly what they're looking for. And, we play that game of SARS, ping pong with SARS until we get those claims successfully over the line. So that's our story. That's what we're good at. That's what we're passionate about. We've got quite a large team who happy to assist. If you'd like us to do the whole claim for you, we we charge only on success. So we will never send the invoice unless it's been a successful claim. And when there is a successful claim, the clients keep 80% and then we'll invoice 20%. The money is refunded directly to our clients. So that being said, if you would like help, just advice, you want to know a bit about if questions you have, we've got quite a large team, and everyone on the team is very knowledgeable in the space and excited and happy to help. So please feel free to reach out. There will also be a WhatsApp which will guide post the webinar. If you'd like us to assist you, just follow those prompts. And that's it from me. I'm going to check the Q&A, and then we can wrap it up. Okay, I can see there aren't any questions as of yet, which means I've done a good job in explaining it. And if there is a question which comes to mind afterwards, please feel free to reach out on the WhatsApp line. As mentioned, we're excited and happy to help, and wishing everyone a good evening.